Listen to me. Some people in your life are not for you. They're against you. Some people are not building you up. They're tearing you down. And the problem is, if you don't recognize the signs, you'll keep giving access to people who are draining your spirit, robbing your peace, and distracting you from your purpose. God didn't create you to be weighed down by toxic relationships, to be stuck in cycles of manipulation and deceit. No, He called you to rise above, to walk in wisdom, and to discern the right people from the wrong ones. Bad people have a way of manipulating and deceiving those around them, often in ways that are so subtle that their victims don't even realize it's happening. Manipulation is their primary tool, and they use it to control situations, gain power over others, and get what they want without considering the impact on the people they hurt. They twist words, shift blame, and distort reality to fit their own agenda. The most dangerous part about manipulation is that it often comes disguised as care, concern, or even love. They might act as if they are looking out for your best interests, when, in reality, they are only serving their own. They play mind games that leave you doubting yourself, your choices, and even your own perception of reality. One of their most common tactics is gaslighting. They will say or do something and then later deny it ever happened. If you try to call them out, they will accuse you of overreacting, being too sensitive, or misremembering events. Over time, this erodes your confidence and makes you second-guess your own experiences. When someone constantly tells you that what you saw, heard, or felt isn't real, you begin to lose trust in yourself, which is exactly what they want. The more confused and uncertain you become, the easier it is for them to manipulate you further. They are masters at twisting words to suit their narrative. They can take something you said in passing and use it against you, making you feel guilty for things you never intended. They are skilled at turning conversations around so that they always come out as the victim, even when they are the ones causing harm. You might approach them with a legitimate concern, only to walk away apologizing for something you didn't even do. This is how they maintain control. They make you feel like you're always the problem while they remain blameless. They also use emotional manipulation to get what they want. They might guilt trip you into doing things for them, making you feel like you owe them something. They may play the victim whenever they need sympathy, exaggerating their hardships to gain your attention and resources. If you try to set boundaries or pull away, they will act as though you are abandoning them, making you feel selfish for prioritizing your own well-being. Their goal is to keep you emotionally invested in them so that you continue to meet their needs, even at your own expense. Another way they manipulate is by withholding information or giving selective truths. They don't always lie outright, but they omit key details that would give you the full picture. They tell you just enough to make their version of events seem plausible, while hiding the parts that would expose their true intentions. This keeps you in the dark, making it harder for you to make informed decisions. They thrive on half-truths and carefully crafted narratives that paint them in the best light while keeping you guessing. They also use triangulation, a tactic where they bring a third person into the mix to manipulate the dynamics of relationships. They might tell you something negative about another person to create tension, or they might tell someone else misleading information about you to drive a wedge between you. This allows them to maintain control by keeping people divided and uncertain about who they can trust. They position themselves as the middleman, the one with all the inside information, making people feel like they need to stay close to them to stay informed. They are skilled at using charm and flattery when it serves their purpose. They know exactly what to say to make you feel valued and special, but their words are empty. They use compliments as a tool to gain your trust, and once they have it, they begin to manipulate. They build you up just enough to keep you attached to them, but the moment they feel like they might lose control, they tear you down. Their compliments turn into subtle insults. Their kindness becomes conditional, and their support disappears when you no longer serve their needs. They are never direct about what they want. Instead of asking for something outright, they manipulate situations so that you feel compelled to offer it. They might hint at a problem they are facing, hoping you will step in and fix it for them. They play on your kindness and empathy, knowing that you will feel obligated to help. They use silent treatment, passive aggressiveness, or subtle guilt to pressure you into doing what they want without ever having to take responsibility for it. This way, they can maintain the illusion that you are acting of your own free will, even though they have carefully orchestrated the situation to their advantage. They know how to make you feel indebted to them. If they do something for you, they will remind you of it repeatedly, making you feel like you owe them in return. They might act generous at first, offering favors or gifts, but there is always an unspoken price attached. When the time comes, they will collect their debt, expecting you to comply without question. If you refuse, they will make you feel ungrateful or selfish, twisting the situation so that you seem like the one in the wrong. They are also skilled at shifting blame. No matter what happens, it is never their fault. If they hurt you, they will find a way to make it seem like you caused it. If they fail at something, they will blame circumstances, other people, or even you. They refuse to take accountability for their actions because admitting fault would mean losing control. Instead, they rewrite history, distort facts, and create excuses to justify their behavior. You could have undeniable proof of their wrongdoing, but they will still find a way to twist the situation to their advantage. Bad people have a way of draining your energy without you even realizing it. They come into your life with their problems, their negativity, and their chaos, and before you know it, you feel exhausted just by being around them. It's not always obvious at first because they don't start by taking everything from you all at once. Instead, it happens gradually. At first, they just seem like they need someone to talk to, someone to vent to, and you, being the kind person you are, listen. You offer advice, encouragement, and support. But no matter how much you give, it's never enough. They always have a new problem, a fresh crisis, or a situation that demands your attention. The moment you solve one issue for them, another one appears. It's like a never-ending cycle of negativity that they pull you into, and you start to feel responsible for fixing their life. They drain you emotionally because they constantly dump their problems on you without ever considering how it affects you. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't check in on your well-being. And they certainly don't pour back into you the way you pour into them. Their energy is heavy. When you're around them, you feel like a weight is pressing down on you. Even when they aren't directly complaining, their presence alone feels exhausting. Their energy is filled with complaints, frustrations, and dissatisfaction with life. They see the worst in everything, and no matter how much you try to bring positivity into the conversation, they always manage to steer it back to something negative. You could share good news with them, and instead of being happy for you, they will either downplay your success or immediately start talking about something bad that happened to them. They drain you mentally by keeping your mind constantly occupied with their issues. They call, text, or show up unannounced, expecting you to drop everything for them. They interrupt your peace, your focus, and your personal time without any regard for what you might have going on. If you don't respond immediately, they make you feel guilty, as if you are neglecting them. They create a sense of urgency around their problems, making everything feel like an emergency, even when it's not. They thrive on drama, and they pull you into it, whether you want to be involved or not. They always have an issue with someone, and they make you feel like you have to pick a side. They tell you about conflicts they are having with others, trying to get you emotionally invested. Before you know it, you find yourself thinking about their problems, even when they aren't around. You replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said the right thing, if you did enough for them, or if you should have handled something differently. They create stress in your life that doesn't even belong to you. They also drain your energy by making everything about them. No matter what you're going through, they will find a way to shift the focus back to themselves. If you are struggling, instead of offering support, they will start talking about how their struggles are worse. If you accomplish something great, they will either dismiss it or make the conversation about their own experiences. Being around them feels like a one-way street where you are always giving but never receiving. They never take responsibility for their own happiness. They rely on you to lift them up, to encourage them, to motivate them, but they don't put in any effort to change their own situation. They want to complain, but they don't want to take action. You can give them advice, solutions, and support, but they will continue to stay in the same negative mindset. And the more time you spend trying to help them, the more drained you become. They also have a way of bringing out the worst in you. Their negativity, their drama, and their complaints start to affect your mood. You notice that after spending time with them, you feel irritated, frustrated, or even angry. You might not even realize why at first, but it's because their energy has transferred onto you. They leave you feeling emotionally exhausted, as if all the joy and peace you had before is now gone. They often disguise their energy-draining behavior as needing support, but the truth is, they don't actually want solutions, they just want attention. They enjoy being the center of drama, and they want someone to listen to their endless complaints without ever expecting them to make a change. They keep you stuck in conversations that go in circles, where the same problems keep coming up with no resolution. The more you engage, the more they drain you, because nothing ever improves. They also manipulate your kindness to keep you invested. They know that you are a caring person, so they use guilt, pity, or emotional blackmail to make sure you continue to give them your time and energy. If you try to set boundaries, they will act as if you are abandoning them, making you feel like you are a bad person for wanting space. They make you feel obligated to stay in their lives, even when you know deep down that they are toxic for you. Bad people have a way of disrespecting boundaries, making you feel like your personal space, time, and feelings don't matter. They don't care about what makes you uncomfortable or what you have made clear as off limits. Instead, they push past your limits, disregard your needs, and act as if their wants and desires are more important than your well-being. It starts with small things that seem insignificant at first. Maybe they ignore a request, interrupt you while you're speaking, or pressure you into something you're not comfortable with. But over time, these small violations add up, making you feel like your personal space and limits are constantly under attack. They don't listen when you say no. Whether it's a request, a favor, or something they want from you, they refuse to accept rejection. They push, manipulate, or guilt trip you until you give in. They make you feel like saying no is not an option, as if you owe them something just because they asked. They might act hurt or disappointed, making you feel guilty for setting a boundary, or they might get angry and lash out, punishing you for not giving them what they want. Either way, they make it clear that your boundaries don't matter to them, They invade your personal space, both physically and emotionally. They might stand too close, touch you without permission, or ignore signs that you're uncomfortable. They have no regard for the fact that everyone has different comfort levels when it comes to physical contact. On an emotional level, they pry into areas of your life that you don't want to share. They demand to know things that you're not ready to talk about, pressuring you to open up when you've made it clear that you want privacy. They don't respect your right to keep certain things to yourself because they believe they are entitled to every part of you. They expect unlimited access to your time. They show up unannounced, call at odd hours, and demand immediate responses to their texts or calls. If you don't respond right away, they act as if you've done something wrong, making you feel guilty for having your own schedule. They don't care if you're busy, resting, or simply need time for yourself. They expect you to drop everything for them at a moment's notice, and if you try to set boundaries around your time, they either ignore them completely or act as if you're being unreasonable for wanting space. They test your limits just to see how far they can go. If you set a boundary, they will deliberately push against it to see if you will enforce it. If they see that you hesitate, they take it as permission to keep crossing the line. They use small violations to wear you down, knowing that if they can get away with something minor, they can eventually get away with something bigger. They thrive on breaking down your resistance little by little until you feel powerless to stand your ground. They make you feel like you're being difficult or selfish for wanting boundaries. They act as if setting limits is an attack on them, twisting the situation so that you feel like the bad guy. They might accuse you of being cold, uncaring, or distant simply because you are trying to protect your own well-being. They know that if they can make you feel guilty, you will be more likely to give in to their demand. They manipulate your emotions so that you start questioning whether you even have the right to set boundaries in the first place. They refuse to acknowledge when they've crossed a line. Even when you call them out, they dismiss your concerns, act like it's not a big deal, or accuse you of overreacting. They minimize your feelings, making you doubt yourself. They might even turn it around on you, making it seem like you're the one being unreasonable for wanting respect. Instead of apologizing or adjusting their behavior, they continue to do whatever benefits them, regardless of how it affects you. They use guilt and obligation as weapons. They remind you of favors they've done for you in the past, making you feel like you owe them something. They bring up how much they care about you as a way to pressure you into doing what they want. They act as if enforcing boundaries means you don't appreciate them or don't value the relationship. They manipulate you into feeling like you have no choice but to allow them to overstep. They take advantage of your kindness and empathy. They know that you don't want to hurt their feelings, so they use that against you. They pretend to be hurt or offended whenever you try to set a limit, knowing that you will feel bad and back down. They play on your fear of confrontation, making it difficult for you to stand firm. They rely on your compassion to get what they want, even if it means trampling over your needs in the process. They ignore your repeated attempts to set boundaries, showing that they have no respect for your comfort or well-being. Even if you clearly state what you are and aren't okay with, they act as if they didn't hear you. They might pretend to forget, act confused, or laugh it off as if it's a joke. They don't take your boundaries seriously because they don't take you seriously. They see your limits as obstacles to their own desires, and they do everything in their power to work around them. Bad people are never accountable for their actions. No matter what they do, they always find a way to shift the blame onto someone else. They refuse to take responsibility for their mistakes, their choices, and the consequences of their behavior. Instead of owning up to what they've done, they twist the story, distort the facts, and manipulate the situation to make it seem like they are the victim. They will go to great lengths to avoid admitting fault, because accountability would mean facing the truth about themselves. And that is something they are not willing to do. They have an excuse for everything. No matter how clear their wrongdoing is, they always have a reason why it wasn't their fault. If they fail at something, they blame circumstances, bad luck, or other people. If they hurt someone, they claim it was a misunderstanding, or they shift the focus onto what the other person did wrong. They always find a way to justify their behavior, making it seem like they had no choice but to act the way they did. They are never the problem in their own eyes, and they refuse to acknowledge any flaws or weaknesses within themselves. They twist the truth to fit their narrative. If they are caught in a lie, they will deny it outright, even if there is proof. If they are confronted about something they said or did, they will change the story to make themselves look innocent. They manipulate facts, leave out key details, and reframe situations in a way that benefits them. They are experts at gaslighting, making you question your own memory and perception. Even when you know they are lying, they are so convincing that you start to doubt yourself. They use deflection as a defense mechanism. Instead of addressing their behavior, they immediately shift the focus onto someone else's flaws. If you call them out on something, they will bring up something unrelated that you did in the past. They refuse to engage in a real conversation about their actions because that would require self-reflection. And self-reflection is something they avoid at all costs. They would rather attack, criticize, or distract than admit they were wrong. They play the victim whenever they are held accountable. No matter how much harm they have caused, they find a way to make it seem like they are the ones who have been wronged. They exaggerate, twist events, and create a sob story to gain sympathy. They will cry, act hurt, and make you feel guilty for even questioning them. They do this because they know that if they can make you feel bad, you will stop holding them responsible for their actions. They rely on emotional manipulation to escape accountability. They refuse to apologize sincerely. If they do apologize, it is only because they feel pressured to do so, not because they genuinely mean it. Their apologies are often vague, dismissive, or laced with blame. Instead of saying, "I'm sorry for what I did," they say things like, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "I guess I made a mistake, but you shouldn't have reacted like that." They never take full responsibility because they don't truly believe they did anything wrong. Their apologies are just another tool they use to manipulate and control. They expect others to clean up their messes. When they make mistakes, they don't take responsibility for fixing them. Instead, they expect others to step in and handle the consequences, whether it's financial, emotional, or personal. They assume that someone else will take care of it. They live their lives without accountability because they know there are people around them who will always pick up the pieces. They rely on the kindness, patience, and responsibility of others while they continue to act recklessly without consequences. They repeat the same harmful behaviors over and over again because they never take accountability, they never change. They continue to hurt people, make bad choices, and create problems, yet they act surprised when things don't go their way. Instead of recognizing patterns in their own behavior, they insist that life is unfair, that people are against them, or that they just have bad luck. They refuse to look inward and take responsibility for the role they play in their own struggles. They destroy relationships with their lack of accountability. Over time, people begin to see through their lies, manipulation, and blame shifting. Those who once supported them grow tired of always being the one to fix things, forgive without change, and accept false apologies. Eventually, Even the most patient and understanding people start to pull away, because dealing with someone who refuses to take responsibility is exhausting. But instead of learning from their mistakes, bad people simply move on to their next target, repeating the cycle all over again. Bad people are highly manipulative, using deception, guilt, and control to get what they want. They know exactly how to twist situations, distort reality, and play on emotions to benefit themselves. Their manipulation isn't always obvious at first. In fact, they often appear charming, helpful, or even caring in the beginning, but over time, their true nature begins to reveal itself. They carefully calculate their words and actions to influence others in a way that serves their own interests, regardless of the harm it causes. They use emotional manipulation to make you feel guilty for things that aren't your fault. If you don't do what they want, they act hurt, disappointed, or even betrayed. They make it seem as if you are responsible for their emotions, forcing you to constantly walk on eggshells to avoid upsetting them. They cry, act helpless, or exaggerate their struggles to make you feel like you have no choice but to give in to their demands. They know that you are a compassionate person, and they use that against you, making you feel like a bad person if you don't meet their expectations. They gaslight you, making you question your own perception of reality. If you catch them in a lie, they deny it so convincingly that you start to doubt yourself. They say things like, "You're imagining things that never happened," or "You're too sensitive," causing you to wonder if you misinterpreted the situation. Over time, this kind of manipulation erodes your confidence and makes you feel unsure of your own thoughts and feelings. You begin to rely on them to define what is real and what isn't, which gives them even more control over you. They use passive-aggressive tactics to manipulate without being direct. Instead of openly expressing their feelings, they make sarcastic comments, give backhanded compliments, or give you the silent treatment. If you confront them about their behavior, they pretend they were joking or act like you're overreacting. This form of manipulation is designed to make you feel confused, guilty, or even crazy for noticing their toxic behavior. They create tension and discomfort without ever taking responsibility for their actions. They twist the truth to suit their agenda. They don't necessarily tell outright lies all the time. Instead, they mix just enough truth with deception to make their stories believable. They leave out important details, exaggerate certain aspects, or reframe events in a way that makes them look innocent. They are experts at shifting blame, making themselves appear like the victim, even when they are the ones causing harm. Their ability to manipulate the truth makes it difficult for others to see them for who they really are. They play mind games to keep you unbalanced and uncertain. One day they act kind, loving, and supportive, making you feel special and valued. The next day they become distant, cold, or even cruel, leaving you confused about what you did wrong. This creates a cycle where you constantly seek their approval, trying to get back to the version of them that was kind to you. They keep you emotionally invested by making you crave their validation, even though they are the ones causing the instability in the first place. They manipulate situations to isolate you from others. They don't want you to have a strong support system because that would make it harder for them to control you. They subtly plant doubts about your friends and family, making you question their loyalty or intentions. They might say things like, "I don't think they really care about you," or "I heard they were talking about you behind your back." Over time, this manipulation creates division, making you more dependent on them for emotional support. The more isolated you become, the more power they have over you. They create a sense of obligation, making you feel like you owe them something. If they do something nice for you, they bring it up later to guilt you into doing what they want. They remind you of all the times they were there for you, even if their help was conditional or self-serving. They make it seem like you are ungrateful if you don't comply with their demands. This manipulation tactic is designed to make you feel indebted to them, even when you shouldn't be. They pressure you into making decisions that benefit them, often by rushing you or creating a false sense of urgency. They make you feel like you don't have time to think things through, forcing you to react emotionally instead of logically. They might say things like, if you really cared, you'd do this for me right now, or I don't have time to wait, I need an answer immediately. This manipulative tactic prevents you from considering your own needs and boundaries, making it easier for them to get what they want. They never take responsibility for the manipulation itself. If you call them out on their tactics, they turn the conversation around on you, accusing you of being paranoid, dramatic, or even manipulative yourself. They refuse to acknowledge what they are doing, making it seem like the problem is with you rather than with their behavior. This constant denial keeps you stuck in a cycle of trying to prove yourself, explain your feelings, and seek their approval, all while they continue to manipulate and control. Bad people have an undeniable sense of entitlement, believing that they deserve special treatment, privileges, and rewards without putting in the necessary effort. They see themselves as superior to others, expecting the world to cater to their needs and desires while showing little regard for anyone else. This deep-rooted entitlement manifests in their relationships, work, and daily interactions, making them difficult to deal with and impossible to please. No matter how much they receive, they always want more, feeling that they are owed something simply because they exist. They believe that rules don't apply to them. While they expect others to follow social norms, respect boundaries, and adhere to laws, they act as if they are above these standards. If a rule inconveniences them, they ignore it or justify breaking it. They cut corners, disregard policies, and expect exceptions to be made in their favor. If they get caught, they either blame someone else, make excuses, or play the victim, acting as if the rule was unfairly enforced against them. They don't see rules as necessary guidelines for everyone. They see them as obstacles meant for other people, not themselves. They demand special treatment without offering anything in return. They expect people to prioritize them, go out of their way for them, and accommodate their every need, but they don't reciprocate the same effort. They walk into situations assuming they deserve the best seat, the biggest share, or the most attention. If they don't get what they want, they react with anger, frustration, or passive-aggressive behavior. They fail to recognize that respect and kindness are mutual, believing instead that their wants should always come first. They take advantage of the kindness of others. When people show them generosity, they see it as something they deserve rather than something to be appreciated. Instead of being grateful, they expect more. They use people for favors, resources, and emotional support, never considering whether they are giving anything back. They act as if others exist to serve them, showing no concern for how their demands might inconvenience or burden those around them. The moment someone stops catering to them, they lash out or cut ties, moving on to the next person who will fulfill their needs. They don't acknowledge or appreciate the efforts of others. No matter how much someone does for them, it's never enough. They rarely say thank you or show gratitude, acting as if people are simply doing what they should be doing. If someone bends over backward to accommodate them, they take it for granted, believing that they were entitled to that effort all along. They fail to recognize the sacrifices others make for them, often acting as if they are the ones who are doing a favor by allowing others to serve them. They get angry when they don't get what they want. If someone tells them no, they react with frustration, manipulation, or even aggression. They don't accept rejection gracefully because they believe they are entitled to everything they ask for. They might guilt trip others, play the victim, or throw tantrums until they get their way. Their sense of entitlement makes them believe that being denied something is an injustice rather than a normal part of life. Instead of respecting other people's boundaries, they see them as obstacles to be broken down. They expect success without putting in the effort. They want rewards without hard work, recognition without contribution, and privileges without responsibility. They assume that things should be handed to them simply because they want them, not because they've earned them. When they don't achieve something, they blame others, claiming that life is unfair or that people are against them. They refuse to acknowledge their own lack of effort or commitment, preferring to believe that they were robbed of what they rightfully deserved. They feel superior to others and look down on those who don't meet their standards. They act as if they are more deserving, more important, or more special than the people around them. They may openly mock, criticize, or belittle others who they believe are beneath them. If someone succeeds, they dismiss it as luck or undeserved, unable to accept that someone else might have worked harder than they did. They constantly compare themselves to others, not to improve themselves, but to reinforce their own sense of superiority. They refuse to take responsibility for their own failures. When things don't go their way, they blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck, rather than looking inward. They never admit that their own actions or decisions might have led to negative outcomes. If they lose a job, it's because their boss was unfair. If a relationship ends, it's because the other person was the problem. They refuse to accept that their entitlement and lack of accountability are the real reasons behind their repeated failures and disappointments. They exploit opportunities and people without hesitation. If they see a way to get ahead at someone else's expense, they take it without a second thought. They don't consider how their actions affect others because their only concern is their own gain. Whether it's lying, manipulating, or taking advantage of someone's trust, they do whatever it takes to benefit themselves. Their entitlement makes them believe that they deserve everything they take, even if it comes at the cost of another person's well-being.